Okay, I've changed the source of the audio. Ah, I think we might have some sound now. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. All right. Awesome. Well, good. Thanks for sticking around, those of you who stuck around. Really appreciate it. If you just hang on one quick sec, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Thank you very much. All right, so I said a few things, and I just want them to be recorded here on Facebook because we had a couple amazing performances by a couple of our AG athletes this weekend in the IPA powerlifting event. Greg Doucette setting a Masters powerlifting bench record, and Rene Legier winning the whole thing in his weight class and setting a new record as well. So congratulations to you both. Very, very well done. I'm going to be posting a picture of Renee's amazing trophies very soon on my Instagram page. He's got the coolest trophy I think I've ever seen. He's got like a WWE belt as well as a nice little trophy. So really, really proud. He's only been powerlifting, I think, for about a year, and went in there and crushed the standing record. So fantastic. Today's topic is everything you need to know about the ketogenic diet. Now that we got that hiccup out of the way with the sound, we're going to get things underway. But first, a little product plug. This is F10 Fat Incinerator. And anytime you're doing a diet, this little gem here can make it just a whole lot easier. Because one of the things that you notice when you're on a diet is a lack of energy. Oftentimes you get food cravings and just don't feel all that good. Tough to get up in the morning and do your cardio and get the gym sessions in. And F10, two capsules of this puppy will get you going and also crush your appetite, help speed up your metabolism and burn fat just that much more efficiently. So it'll get you from point A to point B a little bit easier without all the headaches and such, which comes with dieting. Since today's topic is dieting, I thought that would be a good product to mention. So I closed a bunch of windows here. I had some really great information for you. So basically, let me see what we can find. Because I actually did some research into the ketogenic diet because I didn't know where the diet, thanks Candace. She mentioned there's no caffeine crash with the F10, and that's actually a really good thing to mention as well. Yeah, it nicely dissipates. You don't get that crash like you do with some fat burners. So it was actually way back in the 20s when the ketogenic diet was developed, and it was initially developed by a doctor, I believe at the Mayo Clinic, to help treat epilepsy, of all things. And they found that a diet extremely low in carbohydrates, higher in fat, was very good at treating some of the symptoms or some of the epileptic seizures, etc. So that's kind of how it began. And then in the early 20th century, a guy by the name of Bernard McFadden started popularizing the idea of fasting and the ketogenic diet as a means of restoring health. And eventually, of course, bodybuilders being so up to date on all kinds of medical research, saw that one of the things that was coming out of the ketogenic diet was the ability to lose lots of body fat. And of course, we are always interested in ways to build muscle and lose body fat. That's what this whole sport or lifestyle is all about. So, of course, we started to adopt it. And now the ketogenic diet is followed by many bodybuilders and fitness fanatics trying to find a way to burn body fat in the most efficient way possible. So what exactly, I'm glad you guys can hear me, thank goodness. That was a little frustrating, to be perfectly honest. Never had that issue before, and I think this is my 5th Facebook Live broadcast, so I did go into a little bit of a panic, I have to say. So what is a ketogenic diet? Well, ketogenic dieting is any form of diet where the body has lack of external glucose and undergoes a process where it preferentially uses fat for energy, and then it produces ketones. So basically, what that means, so all carbohydrates are sugar. Doesn't matter whether it's a sweet potato or whether it's a candy, it's all sugar. It's just the rate at which it converts to sugar in your body. So of course, like a sweet potato, for example, or oatmeal converts to sugar very slowly, where a lollipop would be pretty much instant sugar, instantly turned to glucose in your body. So with a ketogenic diet, what happens is they try to reduce the amount of glucose, sugar, in your body down to as low as possible so that your body will start using fats. Now, your body has 2 preferential sources of energy. It's carbohydrates or fats. So this is why if you have a high-fat, high-carbohydrate diet, you're going to be fat because you're giving your body 2 forms of energy, and it's going to store it, right? That's what it does. And then your body, if you're not burning it, you'll store it. Protein's a little different. That's the macronutrient. That's a little different. If you're eating enough protein and enough fats, then your body will use protein for what it's supposed to be used for muscles, for hair, for skin, for nails, all kinds of things that your body uses amino acids for. However, if you just eat a protein-containing diet, I'm going a little off track here, but if you eat a diet that just contains protein, what your body can do, because it's so intelligent, it can actually turn that protein into glucose. So it can turn protein into sugar. So this is kind of important because sometimes people think that they're doing a ketogenic diet when in fact they're just doing an extremely low carbohydrate diet. And I see this a lot with bikini competitors and kind of with a lot of coaches that may not have taken the right steps to get somebody to that point where they're just eating maybe protein and vegetables. I've seen diets before that start with protein and vegetables. And the reason why that's a bad idea is because that protein that you eat is not going to be used for what you want it to be used for. It's going to be used as energy. It's actually going to be converted to glucose. So back to the ketogenic diet. There's the ratio of protein, fats, and carbs is basically about 65% fats, 25% protein, and then about, what's that leaving us, 10%? 10% carbohydrates. So really it's a very high, like most of your calories are going to be coming from fats. And that's something that, when some people don't necessarily grasp when they're doing a ketogenic diet. They may just think that they're doing, high protein, kind of some fats and 0 carbs and think that's a ketogenic diet. When in fact, that could be not necessarily the best route, because if the fats aren't quite high enough, remember what I said about protein converting to glycogen as an energy store, that can happen. And so therefore you're not really digging into your own body's fat, because the point of the ketogenic diet is to teach the body to start using fat as its primary and preferred energy source. So as it does start using fat as its primary energy source, it will also use your stored body fat and burn that as energy as well. So let's see what else. There are actually a few different types of ketogenic diets. So I'd like to go over these ones with you so that you can get an idea of the different variations that exist. There's one called the cyclic ketogenic diet, which keeps a little bit of carbs in the diet, usually about once every 7 days. So once every 7 days, you have what's called like a carb load, which some people will do for as much as 48 hours at a time. And this reloads the body with glycogen, and then it's burnt off within a couple of days, and then you're back in ketosis again. There's a diet called the anabolic diet, which was put forward by Dr. Mario Di Pasquale. He was a big name back in the early 2000s and the 90s. And it's a little bit different than the cyclic diet, but I'm not going to really go into it too much now. There's also the targeted ketogenic diet, which allows for some carbs pre-workout. This is kind of like sort of a diet that's close to what I do, and which I covered in the video, My Biggest Nutrition Secret, a couple of videos ago, where I like to do my carbohydrates a little bit pre, a little bit intra, and then a little bit post. And then for the majority of my other meals are just proteins and fats. Then there's the Body Opus diet put forth by the guru Dan Duchaine and another guy called Lyle McDonald. If you're an old school bodybuilder, you'll know who Dan Duchaine was. He had all kinds of incredible ideas. And his diet was very meticulous. He actually wrote a whole big book on it, and he wrote an updated book to it as well. But it didn't, I don't know a whole lot of people that did this Body Opus type diet. I think it was more in theory. It seemed to be excellent, but I don't think too many people succeeded with his diet. And then finally, there's the Dave Palumbo diet. And his diet is the diet. He was actually my coach for my 2010 national, when I won the welterweight division nationals in bodybuilding in 2010. So it obviously worked extremely well for me. That's the one that I'm the most schooled in, his type of diet. And the way that he does his is that he has a very set amount of protein, fats, depending on your weight. And he also encourages the use of green vegetables, unlimited green vegetables, as long as they're green. And that doesn't include peas, though. Peas are super high in sugar. And this is the fiber that you also get in your diet. You can also use a sugar-free Metamucil or psyllium husk in your diet, which is actually kind of important when you're doing a ketogenic diet. You tend to get a little bit lower fiber intake, so that's pretty key. As well as a once-a-week refeed meal, which is extremely important. It helps keep your thyroid level activated because when you're on a low-carb diet for a long period of time, your thyroid will actually start to slow down a little bit, and you need a little bit of a kickstart once a week. But it's just one meal as opposed to that 48-hour carb load that some diets call for. I find that a 48-hour carb load can sometimes take you out of ketosis for too long, maybe 2 or 3 days, and then it takes a little bit of time to get back into that ketosis again. So there we go. We've covered a little bit of what the ketogenic diet is. I'm just going to open it up to questions. I'm hoping that I covered that for you guys. I honestly got a little thrown off when I lost all my notes and the sound wasn't working and all that sort of stuff. But I think we kind of covered it. I'll go over it one more time, just super simply. The ketogenic diet, you go super low carb. I mean, the goal is kind of zero carb, and that includes even sugar, even gum, sugar-free gum sometimes even has a little bit of sugar in it. So when we go ketogenic, we even take that out of our diet to get to as close to zero as possible. So with my diet, when I do a ketogenic diet, it's a moderate to high protein diet, moderate high fat, very low carb. The only carbs in it are green vegetables. So that's our fiber source. Our body then, after a few days, it takes about 3 days for your body to cut the sugar cravings, because your brain is very addicted to sugar just naturally. It loves sugar, so it takes about 3 days for that to transfer over, and then it takes a couple extra days to actually get into ketosis. And what that means is now your body's using fat as its primary energy source, and your brain actually really likes fat. It operates very well on ketones. So you don't have to worry so much about being brain dead all the time. If you have sufficient fats, you'll actually feel really good, and your brain, it can actually be sharper on a ketogenic diet. And then a once a week refeed meal to help stimulate the thyroid. And it's also a really nice mental break to have a little bit of have some carbs. Now, there's some good research behind the ketogenic diet. I had mentioned about the epilepsy. It's also used to help with cancer. As you may know, cancer survives on sugar in the cells. That's what it feeds on. So if you were to starve your body of sugar, then there's nothing for the cancer cells to feed on. So they starve. It's also been shown to work for Alzheimer's patients as well. So it's and it's also, our purpose to help someone lose body fat in a very rapid time frame. So it's excellent for that. Now, what I tend to do with my athletes is I always start everybody with some carbs, depending on how long we have to work together and their current state, and of course, what their goal is. I rarely put someone right into a ketosis or a ketogenic type diet. Usually what I do and what I would recommend to you if you want to try the ketogenic diet is to gradually work your way towards the ketogenic diet rather than just dropping right into it. Now, if you have, 6, 9 weeks to get in really great shape, you don't really have the luxury of doing that slow reduction of carbohydrates. I would say just go for it. Just go right into a ketogenic diet. It's a little tougher, but personally, I would prefer to take a longer period of time to diet and get ready for an event or a bodybuilding show or something like that, and slowly reduce my carbohydrates until I get to that point where I'm in a ketogenic state, and then you can run that for the entire time till you're ready. So hopefully that makes sense. You have a great question here. Well, the other really good benefit of the ketogenic diet too is it's actually much easier to diet on. If you try to diet on low carbohydrates, even that small, let me just hide this for 1 sec. Even that small little bit of carbs is enough for your brain to want more carbs. So when you get to the ketogenic point, you're actually going to find the dieting much easier. Your insulin levels are nice and even, and they don't. You no longer crave carbs. So when you eat some carbs, what happens is you get a little insulin spike, even if it's small, and that encourages hunger, and then and also that brain addiction. So as soon as your brain tastes a little bit of carbs, it's going to want more carbs. When you're in ketosis, it's just getting ketones. You're not getting the up and down the blood sugar, and you're not getting the cravings. So it actually, once you're there, it can become quite an easier way to diet. The key, I think, the reason why some people have so much trouble is that sometimes they don't eat enough fat, and then that causes a lot of hunger and problems. All right. I'm going to get to Erica's question there on Instagram. I'm going to answer Lauren's question first. So it's a really good question, and you guys can read it, so I don't have to read it out loud. Yeah, well, Lauren, that's a really interesting question, because usually what happens, at least with people that I train, they're usually in ketosis, for the competition. And then we slowly back them out of ketosis, very slowly, post competition, gradually introducing carbohydrates back in. So I have to think for a moment. Yeah, I actually don't think that would be a bad idea. Or that's actually a good idea, to go to do the ketosis diet post show. It's certainly going to help. I mean, you're probably extremely low carbohydrate anyway, coming off your show. So you could go into ketosis, use a ketosis type or ketogenic diet, and then, for a few weeks, and then slowly introduce carbohydrates back in. It really depends on it's a very individual sort of thing, but it's a good idea. It's certainly worth trying out, especially since you're already so low carb. It would kind of be just that next step towards it. Especially if you find that you're someone that rebounds really hard off a show, and you have a little bit of carbs and you just cannot, control it, and you're like, oh, now I got to eat all these carbs, which is easy enough, once the show's over and you no longer have that goal ahead of you. It's really easy to take the brakes off and go nuts. So that would be certainly one way to control that rebound. So yeah, if you decide to give that a try, I'd love to hear how that goes for you. It will require quite a bit of discipline, though, as well, post-show. But if you do it, it's certainly gonna help you keep you lean for those weeks after the show. And then you can maybe, when things are less emotional, which oftentimes after a show, there's a lot of emotions and things. Once those die down, then you can, slowly introduce carbohydrates again, or you may just love the ketogenic diet. There's no real reason to come off ketogenic diet. I think it can be used long-term and be very beneficial health-wise. It's just really not for everybody. And it is a difficult diet to stick to in our lifestyle, in our modern lifestyle and things. It's just, you can't really eat much when you go for dinner. It's there's not going to be any of your friends doing ketogenic diets probably. So it will take some discipline, but certainly you can do it for a few weeks. I see there you say 3 weeks. So yeah, certainly give it a shot for 3 weeks. Just remember to slowly introduce carbs back into your diet. You don't want to just one day, start eating a couple 100 grams of carbs right off the bat, or you're probably going to store body fat pretty fast. Here's Erica's question. I'll read this one out loud because you guys can't see it. If I was coaching Bikini Girl, what would I suggest their caloric intake be on a ketogenic diet? How much fat would you suggest at 10, 8, 6 weeks out? She tried the ketogenic diet last year and had no energy and wasn't losing weight. And she's not sure why it wasn't working for her. Well, it's very individual. I mean, you can use that ratio that I mentioned before, the 65% of your calories from fat and 25 from protein, and then the 10% from carbohydrates. And of course, everyone's calorie range is different. So what I tend to do is I'm not a big calorie counter, to be honest. I do grams. I do grams and kind of whatever makes sense for that individual based on their size. So I'll figure out how many protein grams we need, how many fat grams we need, and then I'll just adjust it on a weekly basis. You can guesstimate pretty good what somebody needs based on their size, their activity level. Looking at their physique, you can tell whether they have a fast metabolism or a slower metabolism. So you can kind of figure out usually. Oh, also, I always get my clients to show me what they have been eating so that I have a baseline of what their current caloric intake, food levels, macronutrient levels look like, so that I'm not completely, giving them way too much or way too little. So all those factors go into creating the diet for somebody. And then on a weekly basis, we adjust based on their progress. So there's no real, I can't really tell you how many grams for an individual. It's too many factors on that. If you had no energy, there's a possibility that perhaps you didn't have enough fat in your diet. There are also some people that just can't do it. Some people just need carbohydrates. And before you say you're someone that needs carbohydrates, let me just say, usually it's somebody, in my experience, somebody that's ripped all the time, has an extremely fast metabolism, can eat a lot of carbs without getting fat. Those are usually the people, and it's probably about 15% of the population. These are the people that really do absolutely tend to need. I mean, you don't need carbs. There's essential amino acids and there's essential fatty acids. These are the things you actually need to survive. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. But some people are just absolutely miserable without carbs, and they just operate so much better on carbs. It doesn't make sense to take them out of their diet. But it's a very small part of the population. And Erica, you may be one of those people that just absolutely need carbs. Or it could have been that there wasn't enough fat in your diet. I'd have to really see what the diet looked like as well. We got lots of great questions coming in. Whew. Wow, this is awesome. Great interaction here. Thank you, everybody. EP09 asks, do you feel that someone who has been doing 200 plus carbs a day for the last number of months would have better results from keto as opposed to someone who is doing around 100 grams of carbs? Well, it really depends on the individual. I mean, if they're doing 200 grams of carbs a day and they're, performing really well and they're, able to, they're in great shape, then there may be no need to even try the ketogenic diet if you're doing well. I would certainly recommend, going the long approach, like I had mentioned, slowly lowering carbs. I like to keep the carbs in around my workouts primarily. So those would be the last carbs to go. And then you can take them out all the way and then switch over to keto if it's something you want to experiment with. It's something, the only way you're going to know if it works is by trying it out. Suzanne asks a really good question. What if someone has high cholesterol? Would the amount of fats affect this? Well, actually, Suzanne, that is a fantastic question. High cholesterol can be, increased cholesterol is often caused by high carbohydrates and not high fats. You want to make sure that you're eating good fats. It's really key. There was a diet I think it was called the Atkins diet, which allowed people to eat whatever they kind of wanted as long as it was protein, fats, and no carbs. And a lot of people ran into some difficulty because they were eating a lot of low quality fats. You should always, no matter what diet you're on, be eating high quality foods. So your fat sources should be good quality fat sources. And that is not, if anything, that oftentimes can help with cholesterol levels rather than affecting it in a negative way. Once again, carbs are often the culprit. That also, they used to say, there's so much cholesterol in an egg. It's, that's going to raise your own cholesterol. Really, dietary cholesterol has little effect on our cholesterol levels. The thing you want to watch for is when you get a blood test is triglyceride levels is the thing to look at. Yeah, cool, Erica. She says you might try it sometime. Yeah, if you want to try it, feel free to reach out to me. I'll do what I can to help you out. Okay, back over to Facebook Live questions. Look at all these great questions coming through. This is amazing. Yeah, good, Lauren. She said she prefers the high fats. Me too. I like high fats. They always make me feel really good. So let us know how you make out. Send me a message and let me know how you make out over the next few weeks. Brian asks, well, I say the question out loud, even though you guys can read it because I brought it up. So breakfast, a ketogenic breakfast. So this would be like I always eat, well, I can't say always, but 95% of the time I eat a low carb, zero carb breakfast. This morning I had ostrich, I believe, and I put some kale. I didn't, Simon did. some kale spinach puree in it, and a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. So that was my breakfast. And this is basically how all your meals would look, something along those lines. It would be a protein source, fat, anywhere between, depending on the size of the individual, anywhere from 7 to 25 grams of fat probably, and no carbs except for some green fibrous carbs. And Anne-Marie Flynn, she's one of my clients. I'm so proud of her. She is going to be doing the International Events Qualifier next week. And we just dropped her down into keto for these final couple of weeks of prep. And our previous show that we did was actually the Worlds, where she got notified at the last minute, like I think it was 6 or 7 weeks out from the Worlds, that she was going to be doing that she was able to do the show. And boy, that was an example where we went right into keto because we had such a short period of time, and she did really, really well with it. I do find, for some reason, I don't know why it is, but women in general tend to do very well on the ketogenic diet. I don't know if it has to do with muscle mass or just the way a woman's body works, but I find that women tend to do really, really well. They don't tend to lose muscle mass, their energy level. Do you know what it is? It's probably because they're tougher than us guys. We get wimpy. And that's, of course, a general statement. Not all women are going to, like Erica, maybe didn't do well on it, but a lot really do. So, yeah, Aaron, the DNA testing is cool. I actually got mine tested by a company called Muscle Genes. It's now called Fitness Genes. And they actually say that I do really good on a carbohydrate diet. And I've done carbohydrate diets, and I don't feel good on them. And I tend to accumulate fat like quite quickly. But that's one way, certainly, to see if you know, I guess to open the doors. I kind of said it's not a good way in a way, because I said it didn't really say much for me, but certainly can get those done, and they're really cool. And I actually do like the Muscle Genes, are now called Fitness Genes DNA testing, because they do give a lot of really cool advice, and they are constantly updating and telling you, about what cardio is probably best for you, and what supplements you should take and what ones you should stay away from, what kind of weight training is best for you, and all these other cool things. So it's very interesting. At least it can be used as sort of a guideline along with everything else to form your own workouts. Yeah, this is a fantastic question. Yes, you will definitely feel a lot flatter without the glycogen in your muscles. However, I know there's a couple of studies that have shown that performance can go up when you're training on ketones only. I found that when I was getting ready for that 2010 show, which I don't know if you guys heard or not, because my sound was gone for the first couple minutes. It was the 2010 Nationals where I won the welterweight division in bodybuilding, and I did the ketogenic diet. Dave Palumbo was my coach, and I actually felt really, really good, and I was getting crazy pumps in the gym, even though I was on zero carbs. So I do find it takes a little bit of time, and it also is really important that your diet is on point with a ketogenic diet. If you go, too low in fat, or or your protein, if your levels aren't just perfect, it's easy to kind of go askew and start feeling shitty. Now, like I said, there is that small portion of the population that just can't handle it, just can't handle low carbs. They feel exhausted and super low energy and super flat. And this is why I've actually come to my diet, which is the one that I shared with you guys in my my secret. What was it called? My biggest nutrition secret video, Facebook Live video, where I keep the carbs in around my workouts, and I find that diet plan works the very best for me, because that way I keep my muscles nice and full. I feel like my performance in the gym is still really good, and yet I'm still able to stay in decent shape because I'm not eating a ton of carbs, which for me convert to fat really easily. So yeah, definitely possible to feel flat and to feel like you have low energy. The secret, once again, is just to make sure that your fat is up high enough so that you're still feeling full and able to get the pumps in the gym. Switching back over here to Instagram for a second. I think I've answered all the questions there. I think I've answered all the questions here on Facebook as well. All right. Well, in case you guys missed it, because I can't remember what was recorded and what wasn't, I just want to give a big shout out to everyone that came by the Atlantics this past weekend in Moncton. It was a great show. It was awesome. I didn't get to leave the booth the entire show, and I'm not complaining. It was awesome to see everybody there, everybody that came by and said hi. Had people come by and tell me that speaking of F10, which I introduced at the beginning of the show, which once again, I don't know if that was heard or not, but F10 makes dieting a whole lot easier. It increases your energy. It helps you burn body fat a lot more efficiently. There's no real crash with it at all. It just kind of dissipates, makes you feel really good. We all know when dieting can be a pain in the ass because you get hungry and you get low energy. And this helps cut cravings and gives you that energy so you can keep going. And also a shout out to Jillian Lee, who was my client there and did fantastic in the bikini division. Also a shout out to Chris Barnes, who did his diet himself, except for the final 2 weeks. I just helped him out to peak. Well done. He placed third in the men's physique category. And then our power lifters, I think I got that in at the beginning of this. Renee Legier and Greg Doucette doing some amazing things at the IPA World powerlifting competition this weekend. So well done. All right, guys. Well, I feel like it's kind of winding down a little bit now. Feel free to ask any questions. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. I think I answered everyone's, but if I missed it, I always go back to Facebook and answer the questions. Even some of the ones I have answered in the video, I'll answer again in the text. If you like this video and you found it was helpful, please share it. Maybe tag a couple of your friends in it if you think it can help them. And thank you very much for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. I have a really good time doing these. It's a great way to reach out to people and share some of the knowledge I've accumulated over the last many years of bodybuilding and studying nutrition and supplements. So I invite you to tune in again next week. Please go to agarmy.com and join our newsletter. I send out a little reminder email to everyone that I'm doing this, as well as some other kind of interesting muscle building and fat loss techniques and tips that I think you may find valuable. If you're tuning in, you're obviously interested in these sort of things, so I like to share that with you. Thanks, Anne-Marie. I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Feel free to contact me through private message anytime if you have questions that I didn't answer and you prefer to ask in private. I'm happy to answer them for you. Have a wonderful day and all the best. Hoorah.